what mine's going to be. I'd like to think it'd be something cool like Warrior Queen or, I don't know, something cool, something that meant something strong, yeah. So anyways, my message tonight is what is worship? And I'm going to take my text out of Psalms 132 and 7. I'd like to ask Sister Peoples, would you pray over my message tonight?
Father, we thank you, Lord, for your word. We're thankful, Lord God, for being able to hear it and accept it, Lord. I pray that you bless TAMERA as she brings it forth. Speak her through her, Lord God, to us, that we can receive your word into our hearts and live by it, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Psalms 132 and 7 says, "We will go into his tabernacle, we will worship at his footstool." So I looked up the word worship, and it means a feeling of profound love and admiration, to respect, honor, or reverence.
Oh, yeah.
So the first thing worship is an outward expression of our admiration unto the Father.
Yes.
So when we're coming together collectively, we're expressing our love to God together.
Yes.
Now, there's times individually we worship at home in our own time, but when we come to service, it's us lifting up our love to our Father together.
Amen.
It's a time to kind of just put everything else aside. You know, sometimes, like today, you just feel like you're ping pong and you're going here and there and here and there and here and there. But when you come to church, that's the time.
Come on.
Just put all that out of your mind and concentrate on God. It's a time to show Him how much we love Him. It's just our focus from our problems, from our day, from our health, to our Waymaker.
Yes.
It's an expression of faith that God is bigger. That no matter what I'm going through right now, no matter how my day was, it's not God's fault.
That's right. That's right.
You know, a lot of times I think people come to church and they punish God. You know, they've had a bad day, they're going through stuff, and they're like, well, I just don't feel like worshiping today.
Yeah.
Well, it's not God's fault.
That's right.
And no matter what, He never left you. So when you worship, it's an expression of your faith that God's going to get you through. Putting Him above everything else. And sometimes that is hard because the devil tries to throw everything else at you to distract you. But when we come together, let's just put everything else out of our mind and say, you know, God, this is your time. I'm not going to think about what I have to do tomorrow. I'm not going to think about my doctor's appointment. I'm not going to think about the bills I have to pay. God, this time is yours. Because I know you're going to be with me every step of the way. I want to go over to John 4 and 23. It says, "But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship Him."
Amen.
God is looking for people that will worship with everything they have.
Yes. Come on.
Not just a little bit. Not just a little bit of ourselves, but with all of our hearts, with all of our minds, with all of our focus on Him.
Yes.
Now is the time to worship God.
Yes.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with worshiping in your own time, at home too. God loves any time that we worship or we lift up His name. When we sing, "My God can do anything," and we really mean what we're singing, it lifts our faith.
Yes.
You know, sometimes we get so used to just singing the words, but when we stop and we think what we're singing, then it increases our faith. And it lifts our spirit. And you know what that can do? It can change our outlook.
That's right.
Yes, amen.
I know so many times I've come in on a Wednesday night when we were going through something and just felt so down. Because you know, it always seems like Wednesdays are the day you get the bad thing in the mail.
Yeah.
Or Sundays is the day that you get the flat tire. Something always seems to happen with church time. But when I come in and I sing those songs, you know what? My outlook changes and I walk out that door different.
That's right.
But that's my choice.
Amen.
I can sit here and grumble and complain and walk out the same. Or I can allow myself to say, God, you know what? Nothing else right now matters but you. And you are above everything. And I can walk out that door more encouraged. But that choice is mine. I'd like to go over to Psalms 33. Psalms 33, we're going to start with verse 3, and we're going to read 3 and 4. It says, "Sing unto Him a new song. Play skillfully with a loud noise. For the word of the Lord is right, and all His works are done in truth."
Yeah.
Now, whenever you get a new car, even if it's not brand new, maybe it's just new to you, sometimes you have this nobody's eating in the car rule.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to take it to the car Now, when I first got my Corolla, I was like, "Ooh, a nice red car." Nobody's eating in the car. Now, we're lucky if we remember to get our fast food bags out back. Get back in the car, it smells like fries. We're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to take out the bag." Now all that kind of goes out the window after a while. The newness wears off.
Yeah.
Even when you get a new pair of shoes, you break them in, the newness wears off. You first get them, you want to wear them around the house just to wear them, right? I know I got some new shoes, and I've been wearing them around the house, even in my pajamas sometimes, because I just like them. They're new, they're fun, they're cute.
Amen.
But after a while, that newness is going to wear off.
Yes.
Still going to like the shoes though, honey. But the newness is going to wear off a little bit when you're not wanting to wear them every single day. Well, sometimes our worship and our songs can get the same way.
True.
We let the newness
Yeah.
of why we're worshiping
Every day.
wear off a little bit, and we get a little bit lax, just like we do when we have something new. But when we feel that coming on, just ask God, "God, put a new song in my heart
Yes.
and rekindle. Don't let my worship
Yes.
become lax."
Amen. Amen.
I have found this story. I'm sure many of you know that song, Heart of Worship. It says, "I'm coming back to the heart of worship." And I want to read the story by the man, Nat Redman, that wrote the story. It says, "A few years back in our church, we realized some of the things we thought were helping us in our worship were actually hindering us. They were throwing us off the scent of what it meant to really worship. We had always set aside lots of time in our meetings for worshiping God through music, but it began to dawn on us that we lost something. The fire that used to characterize our worship had somehow grown cold. In some ways, everything looked great. We had wonderful musicians and a good quality sound system. There were lots of new songs coming through too, but somehow we'd started to rely on those things a little too much, and they become distractions. Where once people would enter in no matter what, we'd now wait to see what the band was like first, how good the sound was, or whether we were into the songs chosen. Mike, the pastor, decided on a pretty drastic course of action. We'd strip everything away for a season, just to see where our hearts were. So the very next Sunday, when we turned up to church, there was no sound system to be seen, and no band to lead us. The new approach was simple. We weren't going to lean so hard on those outward things anymore. Mike would say, "When you come through the doors of the church on Sunday, what are you bringing as your offering to God? What are you going to sacrifice today?" If I'm honest, at first I was pretty offended by the whole thing. The worship was my job. But as God softened my heart, I started to see His wisdom all over these actions. At first, the meetings were a bit awkward. There were long periods of silence, and there wasn't too much singing going on. But we soon began to learn how to bring heart offerings to God without any external trappings we'd grown used to. Stripping everything away, we slowly started to rediscover the heart of worship. After a while, the worship band and the sound system reappeared, but now it was different. The songs of our heart had caught up with the songs of our lips. Out of this season, I reflected on where we had come to as a church and wrote this song. And sometimes, God has to strip us away some things
Yep.
for us to really get a heart song deep down, a worship song. Worship songs have been inspired by the Holy Spirit to encourage us and to increase our faith. And when we really listen to the words, we can read it with our heart.
Yes.
Sing it with our heart. The second thing worship is giving. I'd like to go over to Deuteronomy 26. We're going to read verse 10. Deuteronomy 26:10 says, "And now behold, I have brought the first fruits of the land which thou, O Lord, hast given me, and thou shalt set it before the Lord thy God and worship before the Lord thy God." Giving is a gift of worship. You're giving back to God something that He's given you. It's a thankful worship for the provision that God has given you. Giving back to God is one of our most special forms of worship. And giving is not always just money either. It can be our time, it can be our talents, it can be the music. And I'm so thankful to everyone on our music team. Without them, it would be very awkward up here. And I'm thankful that they use their gifts and their talents for the Lord. That is a form of giving also.
Amen.
Leading the church, a form of giving. Doing the lawns, a form of giving. Giving of our time, giving of something that God has given us, whether it be our money, whether it be our talents, whether it be our time. It is a form of worship.
Yes.
Amen.
I read this cute story. It says, and it was in a 21st century Christian magazine. A mother wrote this story. It said, "Our 3-year-old daughter was in the habit of getting half of her 2-quarter allowance to God each week. One Sunday we were out of town, so the next Sunday we gave her an extra quarter to teach her about making up our giving when we miss. She said, "Oh, good. I'll give one for God and one for Jesus."
Oh.
We thought that was cute and didn't think more about it until the following Sunday. When it was back to the regular allowance and she had only 1/4 for the contribution, she started crying. We asked her what was wrong, and she said, "Where's the quarter for Jesus?" Needless to say, she got an immediate raise in her allowance. We were waiting to see what happens when she finds out about the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Now that's a family that has taught their child
Yeah.
that giving is something that should be given of the heart, and that is a blessing to give our time. I remember one of the times that I had the most fun at the church cleaning was, not at the church, but working at the church. It was just me and my kids and my husband. And I believe you guys were out of town, sister people, so we stepped in for you guys that week. I believe you're out of town for a couple weeks. But we came and we just spent the day cleaning, and we had worship music on, and everybody was laughing and giggling. You know, that's what it should be when we do things for
Yes,
God.
amen.
Yes,
Amen.
sometimes it is hard work, and we're going to sweat a little bit, and we might get a little hangry once in a while. But it should be something that's of the heart and something that's joyful, because we're doing it
Yes.
unto the Lord. It is a worship unto the Lord. And the third thing worship is it can be the key to unlock someone else's bondage. And I'd like
Yes.
to go over to Acts chapter 16. I'm going to start with the 23rd verse. It says, "And when they had," and this is Paul and Silas, "and when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prison, charging the jailer to keep them safely, who, having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison, and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundation of the prison were shaken, and immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bands were loosed." It didn't say that everyone was praising God. It said Paul and Silas were, but everyone's bands were loose. They could hear them,
Yeah, that's
and their
good.
bands were loose.
That's good work.
You know, sometimes I wonder how many times our worship in church or outside of church can be the key to somebody else.
Yeah.
You know, worship is for God, and it helps us, but worship is also for other people.
Amen.
Yes.
You know, you could be the key in the service that's worshiping, that spills over to the person beside you who may have come in heavy with a trial, may have come heavy with a burden, may need a healing, and that could pour over to them. And you could be the key to whatever their need is. It can also be the key to your own family salvation. Because when you're worshiping through a trial and you're telling them, you know what, God's going to make a way, God, it's going to be okay, they're going to see that. When they see you giving of your time to the church and loving on your church, that's going to impact them.
That's right.
It's going to impact them in a great way. And we can be the key to the service. We can be the key to someone else's bondage being loose. I love that story where it says everyone's bands were loose. And if you read the story further, we know that they go to the jailkeeper's house, and his whole family was saved because two people, despite their circumstance, said, "I will praise."
That's
no
right.
matter what."
Yeah.
And God spilled over from them
Yes.
and touched a multitude of people.
Yes.
So you don't know what your praise can do for someone else. And that's all I